Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Gonna hit roll call.
Ms. Cooper Payton.
Here.
Yeah.
Ms. Hedlund is excused. Mr. Jacobson.
Here.
Ms. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Orchardson is excused. Mr. Patterson.
Here.
Ms. Salmon.
Here?
Ms. Schwartz.
Here.
Okay. One minor change to the agenda. We are also, during the communications section, we're going to discuss briefly selection of the replacement sculptures for the ones that are going to be ending their lease. So, okay. Next, we need to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Can I have a move to approve those?
So moved.
Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. No public input, so we're going to go ahead and have an introduction to two new commission members, Erica Cooper Payton and Rosalind Schwartz. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And let's just have you say a little bit about yourself. Go ahead, Erica.
I'm Erica Cooper Payton. I work for the Urbana Park District, where I've been for 14 years now. I do a variety of arts-based programming there and many things within the schools as well.
Okay. And Rosalind?
I'm sorry, Rosalind. If you could turn on your
Oh, I'm
microphone
sorry.
if you haven't. Sorry for cutting you.
I'm a retired art professor from the U of I in the School of Art and Design. And I retired in 2008 and so that I could work full-time in my studio.
Great. Well,
Nice
thanks
to
for
be here.
joining us. Okay, our first grant presentation, our only grant presentation today is going to be Kate Cooper. So Kate, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be able to share a little bit about the project that I did in May. This is the fourth time that I've worked with the students at Yankee Ridge School on a grant from the city of Urbana, which has been fantastic. This project was a poetry project. We called it The Right to Dance. And I worked with students in fourth grade. They were students of Julie Kaiser, so it was really one fourth grade class. She and Betty Allen, who is the dance and drama specialist and the fine arts, head of fine arts for the Urbana schools, were my two main collaborators. But I also pulled in a student of mine who graduated a couple of years ago and had returned to town, and she shadowed the process and was in the room with us, which was really wonderful because she'd just come back and she wanted to, be actively involved in something that was, dance-based, and it was just a wonderful thing, a learning opportunity for her as well to be part of what we did. So we worked every day with the fourth grade students for 7 consecutive days for about an hour and a half at a time, and we were learning improvisational structures and choreographing solos, duets, and group work to a series of different poems, as well as some original material that they had done. So they had done, the children had done, prior to my coming, some rewrites of some poems. So we'd given them poems and they had rewritten the structures. And then they also wrote original haiku, which my collaborating team selected from. We thought what we felt was going to be appropriate would really work for dance. So we had all of our material ready to go. And then we worked sort of over the sessions, starting with a warm-up, and then taking some kind of whatever our poetry theme was, and then exploding the view on that using elements of dance. So we had a poem called Sing a Song of People that was all about people in a city walking. So we worked with a variety of different directional patterns and then creating structures with our bodies so there could be environments that the dancers moved through. So we sort of layered that on. The haiku dances were different according to whatever the theme of the dance was. And on the day that we worked on that project, and I'm going to say sort of as a sort of tangential point that was very important, the students that we were working with were quite challenged in a lot of ways. They had poor attention overall and some poor collaborating skills, and we knew that a little bit more support would work really well. So I pulled in an additional group of students, 4 additional students from my Creative Dance for Children mentoring program, so that every child, every group had a consultant, if you will. sort of helping the process along so that they could accomplish their goals. So the teachers, Julie, Betty, myself, Gina, and then the other people I pulled in, all supervised groups, and then we showed all the work. So that day was really nice. We got a lot done, and the kids felt really successful about what they'd created, and my college students, once again, felt like they'd had an opportunity to have an authentic experience in the classroom. The students choreographed duets to one of their rewrites that was sort of formed like a movement sentence where they would trade back and forth, and I gave them as the model the idea that one person would create a four moves that would be like half of a sentence, like I go to school, and it might be I go to school, and the other one then added on a yellow bus. So the movements were abstract, but the idea of adding 4 ideas and then 4 ideas and building off of that and elaborating on that was sort of our starting point. So we linked back to language in that way. The very last dance was a open improvisation using a lot of different movement qualities, quickly crossing the space, and then finally stopping and melting. And that poem was all about a whole bunch of different kinds of people, and the last line of the poem was, "Oh, please cease, lie down in a heap and sleep." So that was the conclusion of the piece, which ran about 9 minutes. In the performance, at the end, we brought in a couple of second grade classes and then parents and teachers, administrators, to see the final performance. And we started that with a warm-up, a brief description of what we were going to do, and then the performance. And I think that one of the real big takeaways for the students was, wow, we did this. We really saw it through to the end. Tremendous success from a really disparate population that the teacher had said, well, you know, this isn't going to be like last year when you worked with those other 4th graders. And it really wasn't. It was a very different project, and in its own way was very successful. So I think we came away feeling really good about it. I'd like to show you a little photo slideshow of the process, and I'll talk you through as we go along. If I can just get this mouse to work. Almost there. Okay. So this is the Sing a Song of People poem, where people are walking and then creating structures using pressing and pulling. These are the duets, using the movement sentence idea that followed. So everything moved seamlessly from one to the next. These are little moments from our haiku dances. Each group coming out with a unique set of moves. And the last poem, the idea of, hey, you bumper riders, long-legged striders, hurriers, harriers, purse grabbers, stabbers. There were all these like really dynamic ideas, going slow and then accelerating, going faster and faster. Until finally the words of the poem led them to lie down in a heap and sleep, and their bow to conclude the piece. And my team, Gina on the left, my student helper, and Julia on the right, who is, not Julia, but Betty Allen on the right, the dance and drama specialist. Okay, I will take any questions if you have them.
Okay, sounds like it was well organized and well led by you as usual, which is great. Anybody have any comments, questions?
Yeah, so how much would being able to do this again depend on you? Is it possible, that is, to empower teachers, just ordinary teachers, to do things like this?
Well, one of my side jobs, if you will, is curriculum development and very carefully, step-by-step, writing up the things that I do. And I write for a magazine called Activate, which goes out to K-6 music teachers. And when I get a good lesson idea, I write it up and include it in the magazine. And I happened to look back and say, wow, I'd already written up something about haiku dances, and I'd written up something about the movement sentence idea, these mirrored dances, and I had written, I guess I had those two things, and I thought, for the magazine next time, I'll write about that very first dance we did, the walking, as we call it, walking on a grid, making sharp 90-degree changes of direction and then building structures and moving through them, so that we're working sort of with space and relationship as two elements of dance. So I did. I wrote it up for the magazine. It'll be out next year. And I said in the extension ideas, if you want to go back to that lesson idea from this issue and that issue, you could create your own, piece, as it were. So that part of it, in terms of being very specific, is something that I'm already putting out there into the world. On the other hand, I think that there's a lot of emergent material that's based on the relationship of whoever's leading with the group. And I, as a choreographer, dancer, with that experience, always bring a sensibility that is really arts-based. And all of the manifold ideas that come out of just the process and where things can go are really the unique things that an artist brings when they come into the school as a teaching artist, which is not the same as a teacher who's working from a script or a recipe per se. So both have their value. I would say that nothing that I ever do is identical to the thing I did before. But I also do teach things that are more proscribed, where I'm trying to model for a teacher, this is something you can do. In some of my material, my published material, like my new book, Fantastic Forces, Music, Movement, and Science, which I've developed over the last 16 years for third grade, is a very proscribed thing, so somebody could teach that. But I'm always inventing new things, and this is, in a way, another incubator, another opportunity to develop and sort of develop new things.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm sorry, maybe you said this and I missed it, but what is it that you hope the students get out of this?
Oh my goodness. Okay. This is really about advocacy. Learning how to work together, to listen, to be creative, to see something through all the way to the end, to move into what we call the zone of proximal development in child development, which is that area where you're reaching up higher than that sort of complacent place into an area that's going to challenge you to go beyond where you already are into some new thing. And that sparks that excitement about learning, so that you're more engaged. You can't wait to come to school the next day to see what's going to happen next. To engage with literacy in the context of this, because the thematic material was literacy based. Is that enough? Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead, Eric.
So are some of the students initially shy or hesitant or self-conscious in really getting into it?
Yes.
But they're pretty. It looked as though they pretty well completely overcame that.
And that, what I would say, was the big evolution for this group, because even though they were fourth graders, they were sort of acting like middle school kids who come in and they're very self-conscious and they're checking each other out. Is this okay? Am I okay? Are you okay? Can I do this? And they went past that to accomplish the performance side of this thing, and just pushed past that, and they all did it. In fact, one of the kids' mothers who came to see the performance was really happy to see how far her son had come, because he's always the coolest guy in the room, right? And he maintained his coolest guy status and still really reached and did everything. So that's part of the magic of the pressure of performing in front of an audience, where you just step up, and then you go, oh yeah, I could have done that before. Maybe next time I will.
Great. Well, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we'll have the monthly progress report.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
So I'll start with Artists of the Corridor. To our newer members, this is our exhibition series at the City Building and the Urbana Free Library. So every 3 months we have a new artist featured. And these next 3 months, the artist is Judy Lee. who's a designer, artist, and also art educator based in Urbana. And the exhibition is called Mini Master Painters. It actually just got installed pretty recently, and we have an opening reception on Thursday, July 14th, from 5 to 6:30. So if you're free then, please feel free to come, and feel free to invite friends or family. We'll have refreshments, and the artists will be here to talk to people and meet residents. And as I mentioned, the exhibition is also up at the Free Library. For Art of the Market, the last one was July 9th, and we had Bones Jugs, which is a local band. They do a lot of really fun instruments, like, bones and jugs. And we also had rock painting with Carissa McDermott, and it's such a simple idea. They just made monsters out of the rocks with goggly eyes and glue and paint. It was a hit, though. A lot of kids came. Carissa brought maybe 170 rocks that she bought from a landscape company, and almost all of them were painted. So that's pretty impressive. And the next one will be in August, so stay tuned for more about that. Art Now, the July episode was with Lynn Smith, and we've started promoting this episode. It's available online on YouTube, so if you can, go on YouTube and watch it. Lynn has this crazy studio, in a good way, in the woods, and she has horses and all animals and a great view and big windows in her studio, and it's great to see. And next month we'll have Mike Thomas, who you may have known from the Urbana Art Expo last year. He's pretty well known locally, and Sarah Jones is going to interview Mike. Well, I guess Pat and Ginny and John were the volunteers for Art Now, but now that John and Ginny have retired last month, if anyone is interested in helping Pat and Sarah and myself interview artists for this TV series, please let me know, because we are looking for people. And it's quite a fun job, I would say, because you get to see the artist studio and talk with them and whatnot.
And I have been promised that you don't have to be on camera, that it's all about the art.
It's flexible. My face has been shown, but if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always just tell Jason, and he can adjust accordingly. So. For Urbana Art Expo, as I mentioned before, the date will be September 18th. That's a Sunday, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., again at the Urbana Civic Center. And this is our juried fine arts show and sale, and we're receiving applications right now until August 1st. So if you know any artists who might be interested, please let them know that the deadline is in about 3 weeks. We'll select about 18 artists or artist groups, because people can apply as a group, and then they are free to show on September 18th, and they'll have like a 10 by 10 booth at the show. This is a very affordable opportunity for artists. It's only $50 if you're a Champaign County resident to show. There's no application fee, so until you're selected, you don't have to pay any fees. And we're promoting this through social media, the e-newsletter. We have an online ad on Facebook and one on smilepolitely.com, and we also have a website for this initiative. For the sculpture project, so the call that PAL is Public Art League, which is a local nonprofit dedicated to bringing sculptures to Urbana-Champaign. They have a call for sculptures right now, and the deadline is July 14th. And they will hold a jury meeting on July 19th. Pat has been invited to, represent the commission on this jury, so Pat will attend the meeting. Mm-hmm. And this fiscal year, we have $6,000 available to rent sculptures. And sculptures that we get through PAL are here for a period of 2 years, so it's only leased for 2 years. Of course, because it's been 2 years since we started leasing the sculptures that we have currently, they will expire this fall, so these sculptures will leave our community and we'll get new sculptures. for marketing, our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts keep growing. We now have 1,198 likes on Facebook, 1,749 followers on Twitter, and 238 followers on Instagram. And we continue to send out e-newsletters every month, and we have ads on Smile Politely. So right now we have ads for Urbana Art Expo, Art Now, and Artists of the Corridor.
Okay. Next, we're going to move to a discussion of the Urbana Art Expo.
Yes, so I mentioned it a little bit already in my report, but I have some more updates, and we can start there, I guess. So, well, the goal is to eventually have Urbana Art Expo kind of self-sufficient from commission fees and from booth fees. But now, because it's still a very new initiative, we have a lot of costs that are more like one-time costs. Namely, we need walls, movable walls, so people can display their artworks in more acceptable surfaces. And we are thinking about ordering walls from a local artist who has experience building walls, and I guess the cost adds up. So I'm hoping to kind of fundraise from local businesses to see if anyone can support the program. I reached out to C4A, and C4A is Community Center for the Arts, which is based on Main Street in downtown Urbana, and they are. We're talking to them, so it's not set yet, but they may be able to provide live music for the day.
Good.
In exchange for marketing support for their programs. I suggested maybe we can, distribute coupons for new students or something for them to thank them for their help. I'm also talking to Pizza M. Last year we had the Art Expo artists. We had like a networking event for them, and so the night before the expo, we all had pizza at Pizza M at the back room, and we invited some community members, and we just hung out for the night. I think a lot of the artists found this very helpful because they got to meet one another and network. So Pizza M is very helpful of the local arts community, and they offered a big discount on the reception, which would help. Okay. I also submitted applications to Heartland Bank and Busey Bank, which have been known to also sponsor local events, but I haven't heard back, so we'll see how that goes. Does anyone have any suggestions or things to add in terms of fundraising for the Art Expo? Yes.
Yeah.
How was it last year? Was it successful? And
Yes, I think so. I don't know if Jason or Pat would like to answer that because they serve in the working group.
Really?
Like it was, I think for me, it surpassed my expectations.
Absolutely.
In the first 20 minutes. Like people were there early with like their checkbooks out ready to go. Like I was, my expectation was get a good crowd, get people to see local art, maybe make a few sales. But I think, what was it, maybe like 2 or 3 people didn't sell out of everybody.
Yeah.
And some of them even like it led to sales. And
how many artists were in?
What was it?
23.
23. Wow.
At the end, it was 22 because one artist just couldn't make it on the day.
But I think the artists as well were really happy with it. Plus it was kind of, for a number of the artists, it was kind of a teaching thing for how to display your arts. Many of the people who participated had never displayed their art or tried to sell their art before. Mm-hmm. And we had some workshops prior to it to kind of guide them on how they should do it. So I think they enjoyed that. They certainly enjoyed networking with each other. And boy, the people who came, I got so many compliments because the people who came to the event were so happy that they could actually talk with the artists as well as see the art. And it had a really good vibe. Everybody was really happy. So, I would say it was successful, especially for a first-time thing. So.
And yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say that, when we talk to the council again, I think this is a very good point to emphasize that not only do we spend money, public money on art, but we facilitate the interaction between the entire community and our community of artists in this, in this fashion. And so it's a substantial enhancement of life in the community. And it costs, I mean, it costs, in tax dollars, it costs nothing or next to nothing. But
Yeah.
it enables artists and the community to get together in a way that they otherwise couldn't.
Right.
Mhm. Just going back a little bit, I do feel that all of the artists found it a rewarding experience, even though they didn't make sales. As Pat mentioned, they did make connections for future sales, because for the larger paintings or more expensive work, sometimes people need to talk about it with their family first, or just give it a second thought before they actually make the purchase.
Right, because we only had one day, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it was good. We actually, Jason mentioned that his expectations were exceeded the first 20 minutes. For me, it was exceeded the day before when we were setting up, because a few people actually came in and thought it was that day, even though it's the next day, and they were ready to buy some art, and we had to tell them to come back tomorrow. Anything
Okay.
else?
Okay. And in that case, next we'll just talk a little bit about selecting the replacement sculptures. You want to?
Sure.
Speak to that.
So the jury meeting, as I mentioned, which Pat will attend, is on July 19th. And so with PAL, the process happens pretty quickly. So the jury selects the sculptures, and then the sculptures are basically up for grabs. So whoever wants to sponsor a sculpture can just do it quickly. Since we don't have much time, I'm thinking maybe where Pat and I are thinking about meeting the next day to talk about what has been selected and how we go from there. And we would love to have another commission member attend this meeting, preferably someone who has experience with visual arts. But anyone who has an interest in sculpture, I guess, is welcome. So
Would someone like to volunteer?
Would it be on the 20th day?
the 20th.
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Great. And I'll send you. It's at 3 p.m. on the 20th, so I'll send you an
Can you
email.
make that time?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, did you have anything else?
Yes, I have a few announcements, but
Okay. Yeah, I also wanted to mention, when we have announcements on here, that means that anybody can make an announcement. If you want to announce some other art thing that's going on in town, this is the place to do it. So it's not just us. It can be any of us making an announcement. Go ahead.
I do have several announcements. So first, we have another commissioner appointed recently, so she'll join us at the next meeting. I think she may have known some of you already. Her name is Jessica Snyder. She used to work at the UBA, Urbana Business Association, and she still works in downtown Urbana, and she's very active in the arts community.
She's a former public arts intern as well.
She's a former public arts intern. So she'll join us at the next meeting. And it's summer, so every Friday, 40 North has Friday Night Live in downtown Champaign. So feel free to attend that. Say hi to Kelly, who's our great friend in this program. And then also coming up is a concert by Urbana Pops Orchestra on July 23rd. This is at 7 p.m. at the Urbana High School Auditorium. And it's free, so
Is this
tell
one
your
that we
friends.
had supported, or?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the Pops Orchestra got a grant from us this year and last year too, and the grant goes towards their whole season.
Okay.
And I have a card here for Ilona.
Okay.
Her last meeting was last month, but we didn't get a chance to thank her yet because she couldn't attend. So I'm passing around a card after this, and if you
Great.
could sign it, that would be great. And my last announcement is Morgan White, who is the public arts intern. His last day was June 30th.
Oh, okay.
But we're planning on having him back as an intern again in September or October, because that's when we will start to be pretty busy with Open Scene, which is our new initiative with the IMC. So he'll return then to help with that.
Great, very good. Anybody have any other announcements they want to make? In that case, I move
Oh.
that we adjourn. Oh.
One
Oh,
really quick thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And maybe it was mentioned before, but IMC is currently hiring for 2 positions, Was this mentioned already, or
Well, she sent
It
an
wasn't
email
mentioned
on
yet.
it. Yeah.
it was emailed? Okay,
Yeah.
but I think it's just worth saying.
Sure.
You know that IMC is currently looking for a, what is it, 32 hours a week position that would work exclusively on the grant. And then they are also looking for a coordinator for to program their entire space, which of course includes an art gallery and many art-related events. So it's a great opportunity for anyone who's invested in the arts, and that one's full-time, I believe.
Yeah, and both positions will work very closely with our program.
Okay. All right, well, I would move that we adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
We're done.